Dmitri?
Yes, Catherine?
Do you remember the Great Purge?
Of course I do. Those were terrible times.
So many games lost.
Yes, and even those who were able to order, some still have not gotten their games.
So sad.
But not all is lost, Catherine. Some heroes are bringing games back. Champ Games has brought back several ports for the 2600, and now Opcode Games is bringing back games for the 7800.
Really?
Yes, they just announced Keystone Koppers.
So there is hope.
There is hope, Catherine. There is hope. Welcome to Mike's Gaming Gala. I'm Mike, and this week we're looking at Keystone Koppers by Intellivision, formerly published by Atari Age for the Atari 7800. I'm reviewing this one today though because exciting news released last week that Opcode Games will be bringing this one back, and it is up for pre-order now. Link is in the description. I can't show you what the re-release will look like, obviously, but the Atari Age version of the game came in a professionally printed box with a mini poster and this cool newspaper with funny articles in the Keystone Kops theme. Finally, there's a new injection molded cartridge. No manual here. I am happy to report that if you've upgraded the firmware on your 2600 Plus, this will play just fine on it, which presumably means that it'll play on the 7800 Plus as well. Is it worth the purchase? Let's take a look. Powering on, we get a screen letting us know that this game takes advantage of the Poke chip. And then we get a splash screen. Obviously, if you pick up the opcode version, this'll change. Then we get a title menu where we can choose our music type and what level we start on. However, here we also have our digital manual. Pressing the second button on your controller takes you to a series of 8 pages of information including backstory, controls, scoring, as well as credits and acknowledgements that do recognize Gary Kitchen, the programmer of the original game. Starting a game, it should be no surprise that this is a port of the popular Activision title, Keystone Capers. You play as Keystone Kenny, whose task it is to chase and capture Hooligan Henry and his gang of crooks who have escaped from jail and are robbing Southwick's Emporium. At its core, Keystone Koppers is a very simple platformer. I imagine most people won't need me to walk through how to play, but in the interest of being thorough, we shall. Keystone Koppers is separated into individual levels, where your goal in each will be to catch the robber before he escapes. The layout of each stage is the same, and spans 4 levels, 3 interior floors and the roof. At the top of the screen, on the left, is how many lives you have remaining, followed by a timer and your score. At the bottom of the screen, you have a map that shows where you are, where the robber is, and where the elevator is. The location of the elevator can be very useful to know, but in most cases, that's all you'll be looking for down here. You start in the lower right of the building, with the robber starting at the midpoint of the second floor. The robber is trying to get to the top right in order to escape, or just avoid being caught until the timer runs out. Run to the left to head towards the escalator at the end of the first floor. Then, when you're on the second floor, run to the right until you get to the escalator taking you to the third floor. Then, you guessed it, run to the left until you reach the final escalator taking you to the roof, and from there, run to the right. Once you catch the robber, the level ends and your remaining time is added to your score. Of course, this wouldn't be much of a game if it was truly that simple. There are of course going to be obstacles to overcome, and even some strategy in your movement. Most of the time, you'll want to book it as fast as you can, and in early stages, you'll be able to do this without much to worry about. As you progress though, you'll have to have quick reaction times to avoid the dangers that these crooks have left for you. The first are bouncing balls. Initially, these are no problem at all, and they move pretty slowly, so just jump over them. Later though, they'll bounce a lot higher, and you'll have to time your movement to run under them. Again, this isn't too bad to accomplish, but then you get to levels where there are 2 bouncing balls in one area, and it forces you to stop and time both movements, eating up your timer. The next obstacle you'll come across are cathedral radios. These are static and you just need to jump over them. As you progress through the game, there will be more of them in each section, with radios placed closer to the edges. So looking ahead so that you can know when they're coming can be a big help to your jumping in time. After that are shopping carts. These are pretty straightforward. Shopping carts roll from one side to the other, and once again, you need to jump over them. When they first appear, it's just one, but like everything else, the further you progress, the more carts appear in each section, and the faster they move. Last but certainly not least are toy airplanes. These are unique in that while all other obstacles will merely reduce your timer if you hit them, if you hit a plane, you lose a life. Even worse, they're the only obstacle that requires you to duck, not jump. Of course, this means that half the time when you encounter a toy plane, your muscle memory will take over and you'll jump face first into it. Like everything else, later in the game there are more of them and they're faster. This is probably a good time to mention that moving obstacles like the shopping carts and planes can come from either direction, and they loop. As one obstacle exits a screen, a new one comes on. Vital to know when you need to anticipate when to duck or jump. I will say, in general, they're much more difficult to dodge when they come at you from behind. That's the bad stuff that you'll come across, but there is some good stuff as well that will either get you more points or help you to advance quicker. In each stage, you'll come across money bags and suitcases dropped by the crooks that are full of valuables that you can collect for extra points. They're worth anywhere from 200 to 800 points based on what floor they're on. Don't worry about them too much though, as getting to the robber fast is ultimately going to net you more points. To aid you in that endeavor, the elevators in the center of the building can be a big help to getting you ahead quickly. The elevator moves between floors, and if you can catch it at the right time, it can skip large sections of each stage for you. Press up to enter an open elevator, and press down to exit. There are a couple things to take note of though. First, if you get on the elevator when it's going the wrong way, it can end up draining a lot of your timer while you wait for it to go where you actually want it to be. Also, you have to be very careful to never actually get ahead of the crook that you're chasing. If you do, he's not dumb. He'll turn around and run the other way. The only problem with that is that aside from the elevator, there's no way for you to move down floors. Heaven forbid you get to the roof like I did, just to have him turn around and strand you up there, so you have to wait out the timer until you lose. For every 5 crooks you catch, you'll get a fun little cutscene telling you that you've been promoted and that your points increase for every second left on your timer. Keep playing with ever-increasing difficulty until finally you run out of lives and get this game over screen. And that's Keystone Koppers for the Atari 7800. So what did I think? For those of you who are a Keystone Koppers fan, this is truly a wonderful port of the classic. There are no new game modes, but the little quality of life improvements like the great graphics, music choice, and cutscenes really make this game pop. If you're not a fan of the classic, this isn't going to change your mind. The gameplay is identical in feel to the original, so if you didn't like this on the 2600, don't grab this version. As for me though, I love it. I'm happy to have it in my collection, and I'm glad it's being picked up by Opcode for re-release. Thank you for watching my video, I hope you liked it, and thank you so much to my channel members. I appreciate the support so much. As always, my contact info is in the description, and we'll see you next time on Mike's Gaming Gala.